You know, another thing that I always like to do is I feel like we're on the precipice of a new human society with space.
Yes.
With the advent of Elon Musk, you know, SpaceX, what they're doing. The Starship sadly just exploded, Starship 9. I don't know if you saw it today.
No.
SpaceX had another test flight for their new Starship.
With people on board?
No. It's,
okay.
You know, it's just a
gosh.
high altitude flight, and it happened to explode. It's sad, but they learn a lot every time they do it. They're fine tuning things. I think one of the engines failed. But it doesn't matter. What I like to do is like, what is going to be the future of humanity? We're going to have robots. And the one thing I keep thinking about is trades will never go away.
Yeah.
Heating and air conditioning systems is going to be a thing on starships.
Yeah.
Electrical systems is going to be a thing on
Absolutely.
Starship. Building buildings on other planets. Sure, with the advent of 3D printing and automation, that there's going to be some sort of thing, but we're still going to need experts that understand it. That the human aspect are going to have to, you know, go and maintain systems. And think about, you know, if you look up in the sky, right? That is one direction. Okay, if we start sending humans in that direction, that's just one direction.
Wow.
Now amplify it to every direction.
Every direction. It's endless.
You know, I mean, granted, we have certain planets, inhabitable, supposedly inhabitable planets.
That always excites me when I see that.
Proxima B, I believe, is the closest star with an inhabitable planet. It's like 100 light years away, which is, you know,
right now,
it doesn't sound like a lot.
Yeah.
Well, you think 100 years, but then 100 light years.
Yes.
Which is pretty crazy. It takes like 8 minutes for the light to hit us from the sun.
Yeah.
So, but then for 100 years, the light traveling at the speed of light. So we'd have to go the speed of light for 100 years to get there. Yeah. So, okay, we're not there yet.
Yeah.
All right. And as what Einstein has proven, we cannot go the speed of light. So, you know, obviously we have a long way to go, but we are on this precipice of a new world of traveling and exploring space. So, you know, I want to always figure out, what are we going to do? How are we going to help? And what can we do to get there? Yeah. Trades are going to be a thing.
Yes.
You know, and trades will always be a thing here. Think about colonizing Mars, colonizing the moon, which is going to happen.
Yep.
I mean, who if you're going to deny, I mean, there's still people that post on my space stuff that say space isn't real. Like, how are you sitting there believing that space is not real still?
Yeah.
I don't understand that.
Flat earthers and
what?
The comical one to me is that, like, there are certain states that aren't real, right? Like Arkansas isn't real. Like they're like random theories. Like,
is that just a troll?
I don't know. Like that. I can't tell these days, man. Like the whole birds aren't real thing, you know, like that's like, it was a troll thing. But then, like, you get people, you're like, I think this guy actually is invested in this. Like, I don't know, man. Like, it started as a joke, and then some crazy dude, like, you know.
That's the problem with the internet, because people, it might start as a troll.
Yes.
But then there's going to be some people that are like, you know what? That makes sense to me.
Right.
I'm going to run with that.
Right.
And then that causes issues with people saying, well, see, that's the reason we need to censor speech.
Oh, dude.
Because there's some people that believe it. And it's like, oh my gosh, do you understand, if you get rid of all speech, then there's no cross-referencing to show this is what hate speech is here. This is what good speech is. We frown about that speech because that one person is being an a-hole, you know, and now we know what hate speech is.
Yes.
True hate speech.
Exactly.
Tom MacDonald, in his newest song, Fake Woke.
Fake Woke. I have a funny story about this.
It's blown. I want to hear about this. They just played it on Fox News, and Tom was freaking out about it. And I'm a huge fan.
The failing Fox News.
But there's a line in there that says there's a difference between hate speech and speech that you hate.
Yes.
I love that line. It's so on point.
It's one of my favorites of the song.
Yeah.
It's right on.
Tell me your story about it. I didn't know you were a Tom MacDonald fan.
So actually, you couldn't have segued into this better. So I am a Tom MacDonald fan. This is the first time I've ever said it publicly. I'm up until now, I've been a closet fan.
Nice.
But here is how I came to know that literally I can proclaim this publicly. Like, because of my beliefs, and I think sometimes Tom says stuff that goes too far, and I think he says things in a way that I don't support. But I like Tom. I respect him, and I respect his guts. Like what I was talking about about with you. He's a free thinker.
Yes, he is.
And he will not be boxed up. He will not be shut up. And I appreciate that. But I didn't want to give my followers the wrong idea by saying like, oh, I support all his stuff and just share messages that were mixed.
Yeah.
But today, my mom texts me and she goes, have you heard this song? She's like, it's by this guy named Tom MacDonald. And she sent it to me. She's like, it's awesome. Just don't play it around the kids. And I was like, okay, my mom sent me Tom MacDonald. I was like, I responded to her. I was like, Mom, you found Tom MacDonald? Like, this is insane.
That's pretty cool.
And I was like, my mom found Tom MacDonald. Okay, now I can publicly own it and be like, okay, guys, like, yeah, I've been a fan for a while.
You know, I've actually had arguments about Tom MacDonald on my Twitter.
No way.
Because I mean, I've been a fan of his for almost a year. Like, well,
we probably found him around the same time.
A long time.
Yeah.
Yep. And I really like his stuff because he's so brutal with his truth.
Yes.
And I love that about people. And I post it, and there's a lot of, I mean, I'm followed by a lot of conservatives and people on the right side of politics, and they tend to be more religious.
Yes.
And people have said, like, how dare you post stuff from this guy when he talks about Satan worshiping, and
he's not.
I know he doesn't. But
yeah.
I said, point to me in what song that you're talking about.
Yes.
And then they did, and then I said, I pulled up the lyrics and I broke it down. I'm like, he's saying this.
Yes.
He's not saying it himself. He's calling people out that are actually doing that.
Yes.
And they're like, they don't respond after that moment.
There's a difference between talking about and endorsing.
Exactly.
Right? Like talking about something is recognizing reality.
Right.
Endorsing is saying you should go do this and I want to be part of it too.
Exactly.
And he doesn't do that.
No.
Like he even jokes about in one of his songs, he's like, people call me a Satanist. He's like, I'm not. Like,
right.
And I was like, okay, like that's good enough for me. That's what he says. Like I feel like if he really was one and he wanted to share that message, he'd be like, I am one.
Yeah.
Cool. Like, blah, you know?
Yeah.
But he's not. Yeah. So
yeah, this song Fake Woke is it reminds me, like, I've been a fan for a long time, but Fake Woke, there's something about the essence and the power of that song that is both controversial, perfectly set in the climate that we're in, and he mentions Eminem in the song.
Yeah.
And there's articles that are saying like, whoa, Canadian rapper disses Eminem, disses America.
It's not even a diss.
It's not a diss. It's not a diss. It's a truth.
It's a truth. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because Tom goes live on his Facebook a lot.
I actually haven't seen that.
And I try to catch as many as I can because I like him.
Me too.
He has a good vibe to him, and he's super grateful to his fans.
Yes.
And I love that because I feel the same way. I'm super grateful for everyone who shows up for me every day. Shout out to everybody out there right now. And he, what was I talking about? So he, I know. So he likes Eminem.
Oh yeah.
He grew up like Eminem proved to him when he was younger, man, like skin color. It's like, if you want to rap, you can be a rapper. And like he talks about, like, I said I was going to be a rapper. Now I am.
Yes.
Something about Fake Woke. It feels like he channeled like the power of why I liked Eminem in the first place.
Yes.
Like there was something so powerful about that song, and
refusing to conform. I think like whether you love or hate Eminem, like that's what he was, and that's what drew a lot of people to him. Is like he said all the wild stuff that like there's some stand-up comedian who jokes about how like the most crazy guy in a group of like 9 black guys and 1 white guy is that one white guy because he had to do something insane to gain all of their respect.
Okay.
And like Eminem was like that. Like Eminem set that precedent, right?
Yeah,
he was
true.
the insane white boy who says all this crazy stuff. And Tom MacDonald now I think is doing that in a better way, I would argue, because he's doing it in ways that really matter.
Well,
he's talking about
what I
social
like
and
most
political
about
life.
him. He's talking about really on
issues that affect people,
issues.
Depression and anxiety and all these powerful things. So yeah. Sorry.
And no, don't be. That's fine. You're absolutely right. And what I do like about his music, it's not classic rap.
Yes.
It's not classic hip hop. I was raised, I grew up in Chicago listening to, Atmosphere, Sage Francis, like these smaller bands that people might not know about. You know, I don't. There's a few others, but Tom has his own style. He's kind of blended pop, and in one of his songs he talks about this, actually, like he was a punk and also wanted to be a rapper.
Yes.
And then
that's clear,
the rappers
even in
hated
his
the punks,
style.
the punks hated the rappers, and it was like this weird. He was trying to find his place, and then he realized that it wasn't about fitting in. He was just going to do his own thing.
Heck yeah.
And his music definitely presents that,
screams that,
and Nova too has a
that.
huge influence in his
Nova's
music.
So talented, man.
She really is.
She's an amazing
I
editor.
honestly,
and,
I would love
producer.
to hire her to come do one of my. I don't have a music video yet, but
and
if I'm gonna have someone do it,
dude, you
Nova.
should. I bet you could get her. You know what's really cool to me about them? This is as you were talking. I was trying to think of like what do I really appreciate them beyond like about Tom and Nova and the way they talk, because I agree with them a lot. But beyond that, it's that they are broken people who are open about the fact that they're broken people.
They're not victims.
And like, they're not victim, right? So
that's
they're like,
the thing. They're
this
broken.
is who I am. Had a hard life. Did some bad
broken.
things. Everyone's broken. And I'm going to own that, but I'm not going to play it as a piece to leverage for me to get what I want.
Yes.
And so there's honesty
We
and
need more of
rawness, but not the victimhood and the gimme culture.
Yes.
And it's like this awesome balance that we don't see a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you see people trying to replicate that, but they do it in, like you said, victim status.
Yeah,
Oh, I'm
can't stand
broken
it.
and like like you should pity me and you should support me because I'm broken.
No.
It's not what Tom does.
I don't want
Like,
your pity.
Right? So very cool, actually. And that can be applied to movie stars, politicians, social leaders, businessmen, like, and to each individual in life. I think being that raw in your relationships is so attractive.
Yep.
Because people see that and they're like, okay, this is an honest, open person who's like me.
Yeah.
And like maybe they're not like me. They didn't experience what I experienced, but they're like me in that they have their own story. And they have their own weaknesses and their own struggles, and they own it, and they try to thrive anyway, and that's beautiful.
You know, it's as you were just kind of stating that, which is so on point. Something dawned on me because we've been talking politics, and you mentioned multiple times the '90s politics, and that's it's not just '90s. That's kind of how it was for a long time.
Yeah, that's right.
And the advent of social media and the connectiveness that we have. People are recognizing authenticity online now.
Yes.
It wasn't really prevalent because there was fakers and people were, holding up a mask and because online, but it's getting to the point where everyone's understanding the online presence.
That's
right. So the political realm, that classic, you're not, you don't have to be purely authentic because people don't see all aspects of you.
Right.
They just see what you present yourself on the news media.
On the radio and on the news, on traditional media. Yep.
Yeah, so
you're right.
This now new age place that we're at, someone like Tom, who clearly presents as authentic. I mean, I watch him live, I watch his music. They're one and the same.
Yeah.
He's not a different person. He goes live, he's talking raw about his life, his music talks about depression, talks about, being an alcoholic, talking about his faults.
Yes.
And there's, and I go live, and I mess up and I've been wrong before and I wasn't the best at reading whatever. I wasn't the best at being a YouTuber, but people watch me progress and I present as authentic and I try to bring my most authentic self.
It's beautiful.
And you, sir, are very authentic and you present yourself as very authentic, and we need people like you in government. And that's why Trump got elected.
Yeah.
Because people were like, wow, this is what we want, but they didn't realize it yet.
Yes.
They didn't realize what it was that they liked so much about him is because he was just like, I'm just going to speak my mind.
Yeah.
And the establishment's like, whoa, what are you doing? We don't do that.
Yes.
We got to get rid of this guy.
Yep.
And that's why they're
both
trying
sides
to vilify
hated
it.
Right?
They hate it.
And look at how quickly they adjusted, right? I would argue that in 2016, Trump probably won because of how he used social media.
True.
I don't think you need to like him to say that like he won by bypassing what you were talking about, the old media, where you just put your best foot forward and you hide everything else.
Yeah.
Instead, Trump said, I'm going straight to the source. I'm going straight to the American people through Twitter and then to a lesser extent through YouTube, Facebook, Instagram.
Right.
And so he did that. How quickly did they adjust, though? What do we have now in 2020?
Yep.
Censored Twitter, people being blocked from Facebook, fact checking everywhere, where someone says like, "Hey, this is what I believe about this," and then what do? Slap on, well, actually, here's what our independent fact checker said about. Like, they evolved so quickly.
Birdwatch.
They're right, and they saw the writing on the wall, though, and they said, now we need to evolve to keep our control. And so now we need to crack down on this section, which is social media. Yep. We can't have that. We can't have free thinkers. We can't have people going directly to their constituents, to the citizenry, or their fans. For someone like Tom MacDonald, can't have that.
Yep.
There has to be control. And that's, dude, it always comes back to control, 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 power, power, money, control. It's all the same.